What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode. As you know, I'm your host, Javier. So, next episode, I want to kind of dive into some stuff that's going on. There's always things that are going on in my world. It's pretty fun. Can't complain. But next episode we're going to be diving into is how I increased our open rate for our company on emails by over 100%, which is through the roof, if you ask me. Okay, so you might be able to hear that background. It's probably my kids. It's bedtime. I'm trying to sneak in a podcast. I've been traveling, so I'm trying to sneak these in. So with that, how I increased open rate by over 100% and how you can do this as well too. So let me kind of explain a few things before we dive into like the strategy that I actually used on the emails. So as you probably know, there has been a lot of privacy laws. Let me rephrase that. There's been a lot of action taken place by Apple in order to retain the privacy of their customer, which is like Apple users. So I'm an Apple user. They do everything they can to retain the privacy of them, of us. And so this has taken place across the board with several different tech companies where they are not sharing their email information to like companies like Facebook, for instance, which as a marketer, that makes things very, very challenging to the point where you start rethinking how you do some of your marketing strategies. Excuse me. And so one of the issues that just got updated with Apple, I mean, if you think about this, Apple users probably take up roughly 50% of or more of email. Hold on 1 second. And so, anyways, with that, what that means is that these emails, you can't track them as much as you used to. So whenever you see an open rate of like, let's just kind of like think about this. When you send out, let's say 100 emails and then you get 20 of them open, you have an open rate of 20%. In reality, though, there are some people that have devices that will hide if they open an email. And so Apple is one of those that will automatically already say like, hey, we're not sharing this kind of information. So really that 20% open rate could really be like 40% or could be 50% based off of like these people that are using devices such as Apple products. Google has taken some approaches in that direction. They've already put out some information that they'll be doing the same thing as what Apple did. And this is starting to hurt tech companies like Facebook, for instance, where it like us marketers leverage information like that as like open rate or retargeting or learning more about the demographics who they're targeting so that they can start sending more ads and pushing in that direction. And it's really been affecting a whole bunch of people. And so we've been affected by all of this. Every company that uses email technology or emailing in any span whatsoever have been affected by this. And it's really has made your open rate go down significantly because you're not really seeing a true open rate. So what I've seen with us is at one point, and even some of our other emails, we see open rates sitting around 15%. Which is not very good. And like an open rate of like 20, 25, 30%, that's solid. That means you've got, a user base that are, they like what you're doing, they're happy, etc. They open it, they engage. Your email service provider you have a higher ranking, if you will. You've gained some credibility. You've done some things that are just, you're doing things well. And so with this, our open rate was sitting around 15, 16, 17%. And it wasn't very good. So this is what was going on. We were having leads that were coming into our world, and then we were sending them a marketing email as a new lead. So a lead comes in and says, hey, I want to know more about like my, the price of getting a vehicle wrapped. And then we would send them an email. They would see their price, and then we'd send them a follow-up email just to thank them and all that other stuff. Well, that open rate was pretty low. That first initial email. Typically, your first initial email should be one of your highest open rates because people are like curious. And that one was very low, not doing very well. And so all of our following emails after that were also marketing emails. Now, you're like, well, why are you marketing to these leads immediately? It's not that we were marketing to them, if you will, but we were sending them as sales emails. Like it was like a sales rep that sent the email, but then it was sending it, on behalf of them, but it was sent as a marketing email. And this is what happens. When it was getting sent as a marketing email, that email at the top, whenever you open it in your phone, it has a button where you can quickly unsubscribe. And you just click on unsubscribe, and then boom, you no longer will be getting marketing emails from anybody, including us, even though you literally just wanted to learn more about getting a wrap on your vehicle. And this happens across the board for all companies, including facility and property management companies. And so where I'm coming from is that when you're doing your email marketing, you've got to really rethink on several fronts. Okay. And so it's okay to have low open rates at the beginning and then start kind of like game planning to see how you can, increase this, etc. So, like our open rates were sitting at 15, 16, 17%, very, very bad. And we were like, what's going on? We don't understand. And then as we started looking more into it and talking to HubSpot more, they were saying like, well, typically marketing emails get a lower inboxing. Like they inbox, but they get a lower open rate than like sales emails. I'm like, what do you mean by sales emails? They're like, well, a sales email is an email sent by a salesperson like through Gmail or Outlook. And I was like, whoa, wait, what? And so when they explained this to us, I was like, so you're telling me that if it's sent by Gmail, that it's going to inbox and have a higher open rate? They're like, yes, because it doesn't come in as a promotional tab. So there's some people that have their email set up where if it's promotional, if it's coming from a marketing email, then it gets pushed into a promotional tab. And some people just go in and just like delete everything as promotional emails, even though it could be a very valid and important email. Interesting, isn't it? So the challenge there is that we were sending emails. They were actually getting sent. They weren't inboxing into their regular inbox. They were either getting pushed into promotional or something. Okay. And so I'm like, man, how do we change this? And so that was the challenge. And so I can tell you right now that if you are marketing correctly, using email marketing for facility management, property management, and your open rate is sitting at 20% or less, this is how you're going to fix it. Okay, so if your open rate sitting at 20% or less, I'm going to tell you exactly what we did to fix all this. Now, mind you, that like this fix that I'm giving you isn't going to fix everything. This doesn't mean that now everyone will open my emails and I'll have 100% open rate. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay, if it did, it'd be flipping amazing. But what I'm getting to is that it will have a higher probability of inboxing. And if it has a higher probability of inboxing, then it has a higher probability of being opened. And when I say that inboxing, it literally shows up in their inbox and not on the promotional tab or gets labeled as promotional. All right, so this will work. Trust me, we figured this out. So if you're using like HubSpot to deliver emails, or you're using Keep to deliver emails, there are options where you can integrate Gmail or Outlook to these platforms, these CRMs, to send out emails to new leads. Or you can also integrate like a marketing email. So it could be like info@myfacilitycompany.com versus john@myfacilitycompany.com. Does that make sense? So, if you did info@myfacilitycompany.com, that would be probably labeled as a marketing email, and they would go in as, it would just be like that. It'd be a marketing email. But if you had salespeople, it probably makes more sense to have the email sent by the salesperson, and then it should be delivered, like it was like literally John on the other side typing in an email to, Susan, the facility manager, all right, and he personally wrote it. That's kind of what you're trying to do here. I hope this is making sense, because in here in my head it makes clear sense, clear as mud. All right, so the other thing is that the reason we were sending emails as marketing emails is that we were sending a plethora of emails. And when I say plethora, I mean between 3,000 and 5,000 emails per month. That's a lot of emails. 3,000 to 5,000 emails per month. That is a lot of emails. And so, we can't send that many emails volume wise to through our personal Gmail emails, like our personal sales emails. Like, our team can't do that, and you probably can't do that either. And so this is where it gets challenging. You got to be really smart. And I would probably argue most facility management companies are not going to experience what we're going through. If you're generating 3,000 to 5,000 contacts per month, holy smokes, you have a big problem, and it's a good problem. It's like, how do you get all those FMs to become customers? You're probably going to be getting a handful of emails or a handful of leads on your website. And when I say handful, I'm talking maybe 10, 20 leads per week, maybe, give or take. It could be more, it could be less. I don't know. So you may not experience this exact same thing that I'm going through, but I can tell you that this strategy will help you inbox them a lot higher. So we were using marketing emails for a reason, because we were sending so many emails. And so we essentially created these, I don't want to call them dummy email addresses, because they were real email addresses, but they were being sent Javier at email.wrapmate.com, just as an example. Don't email there, because it won't go through. Okay, so it was being sent like that. Even though my true email would be Javier at wrapmate.com, the emails were being sent from a marketing email, Javier at email.wrapmate.com. It was being sent what's called a subdomain email. Okay, and it was working fine, etc. But then we started I started testing some stuff as I started talking to HubSpot and saying, how do I get a higher inboxing, and how do I get a higher open rate, and how do I prevent our emails from getting labeled as promotional, because these are new leads that are actually interested in our products and services. They basically said you have to send emails via your sales emails. Interesting. So I dove into that, looked into how to create all those things, and then I created a solution. So we tested it. With just initial emails. The very, very first email that goes out, it was just an initial email, and it was going to be sent out through Gmail. And we did that for 30 days. So our email provider is Gmail, if you guys didn't know. And then what we did is we just said, okay, let's see how email open rate looks. Email open rate went up over 100% because it was being sent as a sales email. Insane, if you ask me. So, and I'm serious when I say this. So we were getting open rates for the very first email sitting between 15 and 20%. Okay, actually no, it was probably closer to 15%. We then, initial emails went up to 40 to 45%, in even some categories as much as 50% open rate. That is insane. And the reason is because they were being sent as a Gmail email. So they were being sent as a sales email. So in better terms, they were being sent as though I personally wrote the email in my work email and delivered it to the lead. That's how they were being sent. And you're like, well, how did you do that? HubSpot has this integration where you create email templates and you type them out, and then you put them into what's called a sequence. And then I added that email into a sequence. It was just a one email sequence. That was all it was. And then from there, I created a workflow of those emails. So then if a lead comes in, there's a workflow that then distributes like a call task to the AE to call that new lead, an SMS message to go out to that lead, as well as a email that goes out from that personal email from our sales team. Okay. And so by doing this simple switch of sending emails from marketing emails versus sales emails, going with the sales emails increased our open rate by over 100%. That means that we were getting probably open rates truly closer to 80, 90%. And I'm going to say that again. We were getting open rates closer to 80 or 90% because we can't get the whole statistics because of the privacy policies that Apple has created. And so that tells me that our open rates skyrocketed. And so it started making me think, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And so we were only doing this for a specific category of leads coming in. We were only doing it for business leads. So if you do this, if you're sending out emails and you're having a hard time with getting it like an open rate higher, so if it's sitting at 15%, give or take, if it's below 10%, you've got issues with your emails, and it's not. This solution isn't going to fix it. Okay, I mean, it's going to fix it, but it's not going to like remedy all problems. If your email open rate is below 10%, your emails aren't very good. Okay, that means that you have to get better at writing better emails, writing better subject lines, getting better leads. Like there's a lot more junk going on. It's just this solution won't fix it all. But if your email open rate's sitting around 15 and 20%, and you know that you know how to copywrite, like you know how to write emails, and you've done very well successfully, but it's not working, then this solution will probably help you bump it up. Okay. Either way, it'll help you bump it up no matter what, but it's not like what solves everything. So this is how we ended up. And then we started doing different versions of emails. Like one email, we would send out an initial communication, and then we would send out a series, what we would call for our team, like in sequence emails. And it was like pushing them to make a purchase online and stuff like that, and educating them and yada, yada, yada. And then after talking to our AE team, they're like, hey, we want them to reply more. We want them to do this. I'm like, okay, let me rethink this. So then I started rethinking our email strategy. And so I put it into essentially like 3 different buckets. So no matter how the lead comes in, so we have leads that come in into different categories. So an example would be is this. If you had ways for leads to come into your business for like HVAC and plumbing and handyman and electrical and flooring, each of those leads would come in top level and get personalized communication as how they entered. So instead of it being a generic email going out to the person that's looking for flooring information, it's like, hey John, I noticed that you wanted to get some more info about flooring. You know, we work with a lot of companies across the United States for flooring, and this is what we've done. Here are a couple of examples. Give me a call and let me know when we can set up scheduled time to chat. And then you would do that for all of your entry points. So you create as much personalization as possible. So entry points meaning like if it's like a lead coming in for HVAC, you talk about HVAC on that first email. If it's a lead that's coming in for plumbing, then you talk about plumbing about that for that first email. Does that make sense? And so that initial layer, that initial communication is what we call it. What we decided to do after doing several different types of emails is we decided to do what's called an initial quote. And so they just got a quote, and it showed what they saw on that screen. So they got they would see like an initial quote of, $4,000, and it had their vehicle information and some other stuff. And then they would just say, hey, reply back if you want us to discuss a bit more about this, or you can schedule time on my calendar. And then it'd just be a calendar link, and that's it. So that's what we did for the initial email. And that's what I would recommend for facility and property management companies is you send out an initial email that's like a base layer, all right, that is very personalized based on their entry point, okay? And the best way of doing this, you're like, well, how do I do that? Because I have so many services. You offer the services and you show them on your site as different services, and you create a landing page for each one. Or you have one entry point, and then you let them select the things that they want. And if you're like, well, what if they select everything? Then you're just going to have to figure it out. But like, there's a way of doing this where you can work with your web development team, and you can work with maybe like your technology person that handles like any kind of migration or anything like that on your CRM, okay? And you can create communication to make those things work correctly so that certain emails fire out correctly. What I did for a company that I was consulting before is that we created entry points for every single one. So whether it was for like flooring or plumbing, and they didn't do this, but it's beside the point. But if they decided to like write emails for each entry point, they could have done that, and they could have been personalized. So I would almost suggest like saying, hey, if you're interested in flooring, you have a flooring page that talks about flooring and everything, and then they have an opt-in form, and that opt-in form is then going to be tailored to the flooring person, and then that email goes out tailored to them. If they become a generic lead and you should want to ask them, some questions or like what are they interested in, and you do that on the opt-in page, that's fine too. That's not a big deal. It's just gonna be really tough to start tailoring it whenever you like say, what services are you interested in? And you're like, I'm interested in handyman and plumbing and HVAC. In what regions? In the Southeast region of the United States. And so that would be very tough to start tailoring, because then you'd have to start speaking differently on all those selections that they put. But it can be done. There's just gonna be a lot of technology involved. So I'm just telling you what we did. Okay? We have a really smart team. All right, so that's the initial communication. That's the first email. It's like the welcome email, if you will. All right. And then after that, we created what's called an in-sequence series. And this in-sequence series is 8 days. 8 days of communication that's really pushing them to take action. Okay. And these emails are crushing it, man. So and this is just 8 days. So the initial, just think of that as separate. Okay. These next 8 days, they're separate. Now, not all of them are emails. I think in 8 days, they get like 4 emails, I believe, and like 2 or 3 SMS and 2 call tasks in those 8 days. You're like, that's too much, Javier. No, it's not. You can't communicate enough to leads coming in that are interested in purchasing your services. Like speed to lead is something that we say a lot in our business. You should be doing the same thing too. You're like, well, I just want them to feel comfortable. Trust me, if you're not answering their problems, that's not making someone feel comfortable. And put it to you this way. If they are getting an email from you and they're going to your site to look at some stuff to learn more about you, where else do you think they're going to get more information? Everywhere else. They didn't stop at your site. They didn't say, found it. This is exactly who I'm going to do business with, and that's it. And if you're like, well, that happens to me sometimes. Exactly, sometimes. Not all the time. So what we're trying to avoid is that you're just sitting on these and you're like, well, I just want it to feel more natural and I don't want them to feel uncomfortable. You know what? If they're going to be uncomfortable because you contacted them quickly, then they're probably going to be uncomfortable because you have some awesome services to offer them. Okay? Think about that. All right? So we have 8 days of communication in that initial in sequence, okay? About 4 emails that go out, like 2 or 3 SMSs and like 2 call tasks, all right? The first email of the in sequence that goes out says, hey, a spot just opened up. And it creates a lot of curiosity. And it's just like, hey, a spot just opened up if you're interested in getting a design mock-up, and you can set up your design mock-up here. And that's it. And so people are like, interesting. And then there's some other stuff that goes through in those first 8 days. Once that person does not make any purchases whatsoever, they're like, they just went through those 8 days, they didn't buy anything, whatever it is, they go into what's called indoctrination. So this next phase, this next layer is like 14 or 20 days of emails of education that goes out every 3 days. And it's just an email. There's no more SMS. That has been eliminated. So it's like education emails that's going out every 3 days, and it educates them about different aspects about our business, about this and about that, and about vehicle wraps and this, that, and the other. I suggest you set up your sequences of emails like this. So you get a facility or property management company, first email, initial communication. And it's just like, welcome them, thank you for checking us out. Here's my contact information, etc. Short, sweet, to the point. And then you have like an in sequencing, if you want to call it that. You can call it whatever the hell you want. But it's like 7 to 10 days. Okay, we did 8 because our normal buying cycle from lead to like someone buying is like 6-ish days, give or take. And so this doesn't mean that every single lead becomes a customer in 6 days. I'm just simply saying the customers that we do get, they typically close within 6 days. So we hammer them those first 8 days. Okay? Does this mean that we don't get anything closed in the indoctrination phase? No, it doesn't mean that. It's just the strategy is slightly different. But then you would create like a series of 7 to 10 days of emails and SMS and call tasks when the lead is hot. Okay? When that lead is hot, you hit him when the iron's hot. Okay? Strike when the iron's hot. And that's what you do. Okay? And then if like nothing happens, that's okay because everyone's in different phases. All right? Then you indoctrinate them for a few weeks. Maybe it's 2 or 3 weeks. Okay? And you're like, Javier, that's like 30 days worth of communication. Yes, I know that. Okay, but trust me when I say this, it will work. Like this has increased our open rate. This has increased our close rates. This has increased our ability of doing more business with our team. Okay, makes sense so far? And so the results that we've had so far with us going with this new series is that now, not just the initial communication, but now our emails that are in sequence and in the indoctrination phases are sitting anywhere for open rates in the 30 percentile now. And those are sitting at 15%, 14%, 16%. Okay, they were sitting there because they were being sent by by a marketing email. It was a promotional type email. And now they're being sent as a Gmail email. And now you might be asking, well, Javier, what if they want to opt out? Totally fine. So the challenge with this is that you cannot click on a button to unsubscribe, because if that exists, that technically is a marketing email. So that person's going to have to basically say, hey, I'm not interested. And if you're like, well, that's just really invasive. No, it's no different from you personally sending them an email and then you just sent it to them every few days. You literally typed it up. Okay? Just think about this. And so if someone says, hey, I'm not interested, then we just unsubscribe them from that sequence and they're done. They get no more communication from us. Okay? So that's kind of how you should probably handle it, because you're going to get a higher inboxing, all right? You're going to get a higher open rate, and you're probably going to get more action takers because you have more people actually engaging with that email. And when I say action takers, we literally increased our replies by over 150%. Our reply rates increased by over 150% because that was the goal. Our goal was to increase replies. We got them. And now sometimes some of the replies are like, F you, and that's okay. But you know what? We got a reply. And guess what we're not going to be doing with this person? Following up with them so we can move on to the next one. And that's what we're trying to achieve here, okay? Is just create these opportunities for our sales team to literally close good deals. And so this is how I would structure your emails. And this is how it's been successful for our team. I know for a fact that it would work for facility and property management companies. So if you are looking at getting better at your email marketing, number one, look at your data and look what it is over the past, say, 3 to 6 months. All right. If your email open rate is below 10%, you have more issues than you can imagine. And so you need to either you have to have a better list. You have to have a better top of funnel entry point of who you're getting in. You have to have better subject lines. You have a lot of stuff to work on, okay? If your open rate is sitting between 15 and 20%, give or take, all right, and it's consistent overall, and people are engaging with it, then this strategy will help you move up to that next level. Now, if you're below 10% and you implement this strategy, theoretically speaking, yes, you'll increase your open rate to like 20%, like over 100% probably. But it doesn't mean it's going to fix everything, okay? Now, there are some challenges with what I've done here too. I can't do A/B testing on subject lines as easily, okay? I can't track click-through rates as easily as I was before. I can't look at what's called a heat map of where people are clicking on the email. And so those are things that I lose out because they're not being sent as a marketing email. They're being sent as a sales email. But I'm willing to take that bet and be okay with not having that option because I'm getting emails now inboxing and opened a lot higher. Does this make sense? So that's the strategy, and I hope you guys understand. Hope that made sense to everybody on what we just covered here. But if you implement that, I guarantee you will get a higher open rate. I can't tell you it's going to be 100%, but I know that mine did it. And so it's cool because we started doing this with other emails that are have been transitioning over slowly because we've been phasing different pieces of this. Like not all of this was full tilt and we just went all in. We're like, all right, let's do this phase. All right, now this one we're going to be doing like this now, and then this next piece we're going to do it like this now, and that's what we did, and it ended up working very, very well. Super successful implementation. It took time. It took me 3 months to get all this stuff laid out correctly because we did things in phases, and we still have one more phase that we're still holding off on right now. But it'll probably work. Anyways, hope this makes sense. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Other than that, have a wonderful day. And 3 things: review us on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I want to know more about you, what's working, what's not working. Share with me what's going on if you implement anything or if you have questions. And number 3, share this podcast with somebody else, okay? So DM them, send them a text message, something, all right? Thanks a lot and have a great one.